A new fallout from a story we first brought to you late last night. Several Republican groups are now insisting that Democrats denounce Florida Congressman Alan Grayson over a controversial fundraising email he sent that uses a picture of a burning cross and equates the Tea Party to the Ku Klux Klan. The photo suggests the burning cross serves as the T in Tea Party, and the caption reads, "Now you know what the T stands for." Lenny Curry is the Florida GOP chair, and Lenny, you are calling for state Democrats in Florida, where this happened, to denounce this ad. Why? Why is that important?
Well, I mean, this is, by the way, it's good to be with you, Megan. Thanks for having me tonight.
You bet.
It's despicable. The idea that Alan Grayson would use a burning cross and invoke the KKK is deplorable, and the Florida Democratic Party should denounce this. I also find it interesting that the only time we're talking about Alan Grayson is when he says something outrageous, and that's because he can't work with people and he can't get things done, so he just says ridiculous things to draw attention. Yeah,
he referred to some opponent as a woman, as a K Street whore. He referred to the absence of health care for all in this country as a Holocaust. He said Republicans' health care plan is to die early, that's what they want people to do. I mean, the list goes on and on. So this guy's, you know, he's got a lot of greatest hits. But he doubled down on the remarks and said, look, you know, the folks in the Tea Party have said racist things about this president, saying he's a Muslim from Kenya and questioning whether he's an American citizen and so on and so forth. And that's why he said this.
Well, he painted this broad brush, and again, it's just ridiculous to draw attention to himself because that's the only way he gets people to talk about him. The Florida Democratic Party, though, has a history of not denouncing these kind of comments. We had Representative Garcia down in South Florida recently call Republicans terrorists. They didn't denounce that. We had Jesse Jackson here recently comparing Florida to apartheid. So I don't understand why the Democratic Party in the state of Florida won't denounce these hateful, repulsive comments.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's the DNC chair, came out and said she is disappointed in the use of that imagery, but then said, but both sides need to dial back that kind of rhetoric and look to bring more civility in politics. What do you think of that?
Well, I'll commend that half-hearted apology. This stuff by Alan Grayson is just over the top. I mean, when you think about the history of this country and some of the really bad things that happen, I mean, the KKK, this is deplorable stuff. And the idea that Alan Grayson would invoke this kind of stuff out of our history on fellow Americans is just absurd.
But why? But you know, if you get into the place where you're calling for a party to condemn everything bad, even really bad, that an individual member of the party does, you know, these lawmakers are not going to have any time to legislate. They're going to be just condemning because both sides have bad actors.
But there are some things that are just over the top, some things that are just completely below the belt. And that's exactly what this is. I mean, look, the Florida Democratic Party, I guess they're like Alan Grayson in this way. The only time we talk about the Florida Democratic Party is when there's dysfunction or some outrageous comment made.
Lenny Curry, thank you very much for being here, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up, new developments on our top story. After this break, we'll bring this to you. A half dozen now top Senate Democrats tonight breaking with the White House and demanding changes in the health care law. Now, what does this mean for Barack Obama? Is Harry Reid going to let that go to a vote on the Senate floor? Because he hasn't so far when things like this have come up. And if he does, and it goes up to Barack Obama, what is he going to do? We'll talk about it next. And